So that was another reason why he does his concealer like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe that's why. What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you can tell by the title of the video, today's video is going to basically be me showing you some of the tips and tricks that I've learned from the Makeup Forever x Makeup by Ariel masterclass that they had virtually. It was really fun watching and learning from him. He did a really just nice, beautiful look on himself. His skin was just phenomenal, and I'm going to show you guys basically some of the things that he was talking about, some of the products that he used to create this skin look. And you guys, I feel like my skin looks good. Like I feel like I'm always saying that, but when I did my makeup for the masterclass, my skin, like my makeup looked good on camera, but in real life, things was separating, things was just not looking good. And I honestly feel like the last few weeks that I've been doing my makeup here and there, I don't know if it's my skin itself or just the products I was using just wasn't meshing, but today's look looks good. Today I'm back. The girl is here. She's back, and things is looking really, really good. So if you guys want to learn what I learned through this masterclass and learn the products and the tips and tricks and everything like that, stay tuned. Okay guys, so let's get started on this face. I'm really, really excited. I'm really, really excited about doing my makeup today because of all these tips and tricks. Like I'm I haven't felt like really ready to do my makeup until today. So I'm really, really excited, as you can tell. I keep saying that. I'm actually pulling up my notes. There's a few things. So basically in this masterclass, we talked about the step 1 primers and a lot of what they do. Talked a lot about the step 1 primers. I showed them on Instagram. I showed them in another video, but I'm not sure which one's going up first. But we have, a whole bunch of them. These are the ones that I pulled out that I want to use today. But I have a lot. Oh, here's another one. They have a huge collection. They are reformulated primers. So if you guys kind of know, they had a previous primer formulation, which I really enjoyed. I loved the mattifying one. This is also mattifying, but just different formula. It's supposed to be better. So I have been loving the old one though, and I still have it to this day. But this is new formula, new packaging, just new everything. And I'm really looking forward to it because the previous primers were really great. So I have high hopes for these ones. We also kind of went over a base. Now his base that he did was a little bit more simple. It was more of a base that he would do for himself. He didn't have a model due to COVID. So it was him applying the product to himself and basically his everyday routine, which was more light, more of a natural makeup kind of look, or no makeup type look. I will not be doing a no makeup type look. I want to do a full face, but the tips that he shared and some of the things that I've seen him doing would work for either or, just to get that skin to look super, super flawless. You guys know I typically like a full face when I do makeup. Let's start off with the primers. So as I showed you guys, we have a whole bunch of primers. These are the 4 that I picked out. We have the Grayness Reducer, Redness Corrector, Pore Minimizer, and Shine Control Primer. One of the things that they kind of emphasize with using these primers in the class was that less is more kind of approach when you're using them, and it's really about zoning and really targeting specific areas of the face. So that way, if you do need different type of primers for different areas of the face, you could do that, but it's all about putting them where they're needed and not all over the place and not mixing or anything like that. It's just really focusing on where it needs to be. And as you guys can see, my face, girl, hyperpigmentation, acne, texture, redness, pores. We got the whole situation going. It's actually quite terrible, but that's all right because these primers are going to be helping us. So I think what I'm going to start off with is the Redness Corrector, and I've used this a few times. And what I like about this is it's not super, super opaque, so you're not looking green or really weird looking, but it kind of helps just take away that redness a little bit. As I'm kind of pressing, my face does get a little pink, a little flush, but it kind of does go away after my skin kind of calms down from my just pressing and moving it around. But I kind of just put that in the T-zone because my cheeks get red underneath my nose, or not underneath, but like right here. And if I have like a larger pimple, something that's really, really inflamed, something that's really, really red, I would use this to put over it. Now we have the Grayness Reducer, and I've been kind of liking this as a spot treatment. I think it kind of cuts down on the cream products that I have to use because this has this red undertone. It's for, you know, it's a grayness reducer as it says. And typically with my scarring, there is gray undertones, darkness to it. So this kind of helps me cut down the cream products that I have to use, or just the amount that I have to use, because it's already doing that correcting for me, which I really like, because you don't want your skin to have built up product. You don't want to look super cakey. And actually when I did my makeup for this masterclass, because I wanted just to look kind of put together, I was like, dang girl, like your skin, it looks cool, but at the same time, I noticed issues that you guys probably wouldn't have seen, or because it's just over camera. But up close and personal, I was a little like, ooh no, this is not it. Next, I'm gonna use the pore minimizer one, and I'm actually kind of tapping it, shaking it, kind of moving the product around, because when I first used this, it came out like it was separated, so it was like really weird. But I feel like if you can shake it up a little bit, if you can. I mean, I don't know how really. Now with this specific primer, let's hope that can separate. Here we go. Great. Okay. So with this specific primer, he recommended you tapping it in and really pressing it into the pores versus just smearing it like we did our other ones. That way it really does the job of pore filling. So I think I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of the shine control. Girl, if you're trying to, wait a minute. If you guys want to control some shine, if you got oily skin and your skin be cutting up, like after 2 hours you're done, baby. The original one it's OG, it's classic. This one I've used several times. This, girl, you really don't need a lot. And really this is for my oily girls. Like unless you really love a matte look, girl, if you got dry, you can just stay the hell away from this, okay? It is really good. And I'm actually going to tap it because I don't want to kind of mess up what we did with the pore minimizer. And I'm just, girl, just hitting my T-zone and the side of my nose, really making my chin just a little bit. Since this was a Makeup Forever masterclass, he was using a lot of Makeup Forever products. Well, not a lot, like all of them were Makeup Forever products. I'm gonna kind of use a lot more Makeup Forever in my routine. Some I haven't used before, so anyway, I'm really excited. Let's use this. You guys know I love this. It's the shade 2.5. This has a pink undertone. Now I am going over my hyperpigmentation areas. I'm gonna go into foundation. One thing he did talk about was he prefers to do foundation, then concealer, and cream contour if you do so. He doesn't typically do the concealer, contour, and then foundation. To each his own. He thinks that it just moves around the product, and I could definitely see that happening if you put it all over, but you guys have seen my routine when it comes to that. When it comes to this underpainting, if you will, because that's kind of the new name for it now, but if you guys seen my last video, I showed you guys how to underpaint, and I really like doing that because I actually only put foundation where I necessarily need it and not all over the face. So I don't feel like my products get moved around too much, and I don't feel like I'm losing the definition and like contrast that I created with the products. But either way, I'm going to do the full face. I'm gonna use the Makeup Forever, what is this? This is their like HD foundation palette. So we have several shades, and I'm gonna go ahead and just do my full face and kind of just do how you would do, kind of, sort of. Okay, so I'm just going to start applying my foundation. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is the same type formula of the HD foundation, and it's been years since I used that just because there's so much foundation out. Like, I have so much foundation actually that I don't even touch that I like, but it's just, girl, sometimes you get hooked on something, you just continue to use that, and then it's just, you know. One thing he also said was it kind of varies what type of tools he uses and what kind of mood he's in. Sometimes he'll use his finger, sometimes he'll use brushes, sometimes he'll use sponges, like it kind of varies. I'm gonna kind of do brushes and a sponge, and really because I've seen how he was applying products with the sponge and it had me intrigued. This is kind of light, just a little bit, but it's kind of hard like to kind of mix because your face is kind of different tones anyway, like your forehead at least. Like my forehead is a lot darker than the rest of my face, so it's kind of hard to mix, but I will fix that, don't worry. To really press this in with my kabuki from BH. And I think I'm also going to use my sponge to even press it in further, but I really want to press it in without losing product and then kind of go over it, because what he also said was he likes to use a sponge that's damp, not really wet. The sponge that he was actually using for his application was wet from like a day or two ago, and so it still was a little damp from what he was saying. So he prefers something, what he said was he only really wets his sponge so it can expand, not really to wet it to get it wet. He doesn't really like that. And if you guys know me, I typically use a dry sponge. I haven't really used a wet one in a while. But I think I understand what he means. Like I like the softness and the expansion of the sponge and how it kind of loosens up as it's, you know, wet. But I don't really care for the actual water in the sponge. So I have this big old sponge. I think this is a Sonia Kashuk sponge, and I damped it like it's wet, and I squeeze a lot of it out, and I really have it sitting out so it feels damp but not wet. Like I can't squeeze anything out of it. Another thing that he mentioned while he was doing his routine was that he really he gotta be smacked in the face. Like he uses a lot of firm pressure, and obviously not to hurt you, but he's really like purposely trying to push the product into the skin. He does it with concealer, he does it with his foundation. He's really trying to push the product into the skin so that it's more seamless, it's smoother, the under eyes look flatter, you know, their pores aren't as prominent. So yeah, he really just be going in, which I get it. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, the skin is looking really good. I'm really liking the sponge technique, just really pressing the product into your skin. I feel like my skin looks smoother than usual, so that's a plus. So let's move on to concealer. I have my matte velvet, but I also purchased this Makeup Forever Ultra HD. I don't think I've ever used this before, but he said he could not be without this. It's always in his kit. Like he will always have this in his kit. He's always using it on clients. So I was like, bet, say no more. So I got the shade Macadamia. I'm reading the Sephora thingamabob, and this is for light medium skin with peach undertones, and he used a peachier one. So one thing that he said about the concealer was he is super iconic for his bright under eyes, right? So this is what I'm really excited about, okay? Him and his under eyes is what I really came for, okay? So I wrote some notes slightly, so don't mind if I am looking over at this, but he likes to apply his concealer closer to the nose, his triangle more here than in the center. And the reason why is it allows his blush application to look more opaque. It also allows the brightness to really be centered like right here to really snatch the face. And what he also said was he really likes to use, he doesn't like to use too much concealer. He said, believe it or not, you know, how bright and just how like flawless the under eyes look on his clients. He doesn't use a lot of concealer, but what he does do is use concealers that can also correct and brighten. So he's using a little bit of a few different things, if that makes sense, to really get that look. So I'm going to start with this Ultra HD concealer in 31. And I typically just go like this, you know, but I'm about to listen to him. I'm about to peep some game real quick. So I'm gonna keep my triangle really right here. Dang, honestly, I don't even know if I'm doing him justice. Like, I really don't. I really wish he could do my makeup. But like this, and then, you know, something of the sort. But you see how it's not like right in the middle, it's like closer to the nose. That's what I think he was trying to do. And I'm using this shade to help cancel out any darkness underneath my eyes. And I've never used this concealer before. I swear I've never used it before. So hopefully I enjoy it. And he's like pressing it into the skin, into the under eye. He mentioned that a lot of people are obsessed with his blush application, which I am. Like, I love how he does blush. he really pointed out that using like a super bright concealer right in the center of your cheeks just kind of washes away the color. And so that was another reason why he does his concealer like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe that's why. Let's move on to our matte velvet. I'm using the shade 2.6. You guys have seen this many times. And I'm gonna go ahead and kind of brighten up the eye with this color, but I'm going to still follow that technique that he you know, does by keeping everything closer to the nose. The other thing he mentioned is that he doesn't like to drag his concealer all the way to his temples. He likes to stop at the brow. So I'm making sure I don't go past that point. Okay, cool. So the under eyes are looking really good. They look good on camera, but they look really, really good in real life too. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight the rest of my face. I, you know, typically do my whoops. So I'm gonna do my T-zone real quick. Okay, so that is taken care of. Let's move on to a little bit of cream contour. One thing that he also mentioned was that he doesn't really have a preference when it comes to creams or powders. He thinks like a really flawless look is a combination of both, and really just manipulating both and meshing them both together to really get a flawless face. He didn't really show much of a contour. I mean, he did, and he used the concealer in a darker shade, which I don't have, and he didn't really go into the structure of how he contours and all those things. So I'm gonna do what I typically do just cause, I mean, I'm actually gonna do a mix of my Huda Beauty Tantour with some of these foundation shades to kind of get a really just beautiful gradient of a bronze slash contour with the creams. I'm gonna start with Huda and a stippling brush, and I am just going to start, you know, doing what I do best, girl. And I'm using this because I feel like it's a little bit more opaque, and it's a little cooler than some of the shades that are in here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mix these two. I mixed a little bit of this shade when I was doing my foundation. That way I can get a little bit of warmth back in the skin. So I'm just gonna do this. That way I can get like a more of a bronze type finish, a really good gradient. You guys know that I am one for gradients. So I'm going to put this above, but I'm kind of mixing it in together so it doesn't look weird. But this is just going to bring in saturation. He prefers not to really contour his nose, but if you guys obviously follow him, you guys know his nose is really structured. Like, it's damn near perfect. You don't really need to, he don't really need to do anything with his nose. His nose is really nice. I don't really feel like I need to do much with my nose, but I kind of just love the look. I feel like it kind of completes the center of the face, having a little bit more structure. So I'm gonna do a cream and I'll go lightly over with powder. So the next step, and I have done this for so long because I've watched previous videos of his previous masterclass, and this is one of the things he talked about, and he also kind of reiterated this in this masterclass, using this Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin foundation powder in the shade R230 to set underneath the eyes. He also said that this does not leave his kit. He loves these powder foundations. He's obsessed, uses it on every client like they are legit. And I have used this so many times. You guys have seen this. So I'm kind of excited because I kind of stopped using it and then I kind of started using it in a different way. So I'm kind of excited to go back to using it the way that he had mentioned it, now that I kind of have a different concealer situation going. I also use his sponge. So I'm going to press my sponge into the product, and I love that this is so pointy. This is from Sonia Kashuk, and I'm just going to start pressing that in. I already touched up my under eyes so that way they're not creased, and I am just pressing that product into the skin. He said this is his technique to also get the under eyes to look really like flat and just like seamless, which holy shit. Wow, this looks really, really good. And I am trying my hardest not to put too much product in the center where I would want to put my blush, really just focusing it towards the nose, basically how we did our concealer. He's also a fan of baking, so we're gonna be doing that. I'm gonna set the rest of my face with my Fenty Beauty powder foundation, and I low-key, I kind of want to try this technique, but also use this powder foundation instead of the other one I have. So I think I want to get a more pinky one just to see, because I have been really liking this. This is my shade 290. So I'm just going to apply this all over the face to set everything, and then we'll go into a bake. Okay, here we have our powder. It's super messy. That's one thing. I hate doing this. It's super messy, but he does bake, and I'm going to basically follow exactly the way he does the concealer and everything. I'm gonna do it just like that. Apply it like so, like that. Okay, where's Tab at? If you know, you know. Okay. I also want to kind of create a lifted effect, so I'm going to bake the sides of my eye. This is just my preference, okay? He didn't do this, but I'll do it because I want to. Now, I'm not sure how long he lets this sit because he didn't do this in the class. But since we are kind of waiting, I'm going to go ahead and do my bronze and contour. I'm gonna go ahead and use my Nars Matte Laguna Bronzer, and then I'm gonna be using my Melt Stack, of course, you know, the contour shade that I'm always using, bam. So we're just gonna do that real quick. Alright, you guys, so let's move on to blush, and I'm excited because I want to see how opaque my blush is going to look with this new concealer technique. I'm gonna go back into an OG. This is the Jouer blush palette, and I'm mixing these two shades here. I've also learned from just other people that he likes to apply blush little into the under eye, which I actually love because I feel like it looks a little bit more natural. Everything looks a little more seamless that way. Some people like to do blush just right here. I don't like that look. It just, again, doesn't look really natural to me. So I like it this way. In person, I can see the difference better on camera. But for example, we set a lot of our powder right in this area, right? Well, as the blush is going into this, it's not as opaque. It's like kind of like, it's not as vibrant. So I kind of see what he's saying. Like, there's so much powder that the powder just really is not sinking into the skin at that point. It's just sitting on powder, and that powder is just coming through the blush, and it's making it look less like bright, less vibrant, because I can already see it in this area. So this is the finished look. Of course, another complexion video. I know it's a little old, but I had to share this with you guys because it was Ariel himself sharing these tips and tricks about how to get such flawless skin, especially using some of these Makeup Forever products. The primers are really, really good. So if you guys get an opportunity to try them, I really hope you can. Get a sample or something from Sephora. I think a lot of them are open now. I just really, really like it. It just works for me. And I've tried probably 5 out of the, 7, 8 that they got. So I'm very pleased with it. The HD concealer was a game changer, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it was, along with the other matte velvet skin concealer and the powder. I mean, a lot of the products that I used really helped, obviously, to get this together, but the techniques were really, really golden. I absolutely love it. This is definitely going to be a new like complexion routine for me. I'm just gonna implement the things that he does, and just, I'm like so happy with it. I feel like my under eyes, I think that's one thing that I really, really like want to have, is like the flat, bright under eyes. Obviously not look like a clown or anything crazy, but the flat, bright under eyes is my goal. Like, I've even thought about getting like under eye filler to kind of make that like hollowness go away, just so it's just more flat and bright and just bam, even if I'm not wearing makeup or anything like that. But these tips, these tricks really helped me achieve that, I feel like. Like this video, give it a thumbs up. Of course, comment down below if you have tips and tricks yourself to kind of get the skin right. Like I said, I am loving a bright under eye, something super flat, something just super youthful. But comment down below, also subscribe. I have tons of more videos that you guys can watch, and I have more coming your way, so make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're clicking that bell, okay, to be notified. And other than that, I love you guys so, so much. Bye.